Welcome to my allotment. Today I'm going to take you a tour around my allotment after the massive storms we've had across the country this year to see how my allotment's fared. Hopefully it's all still there. If you've not already subscribed to my channel, if you could please do so. I'll give you lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my home garden, my allotment and also my home kitchen. Now, most of you across the country have had really bad storms in the UK this week. It's actually quite windy here today, which has really surprised me. I thought it had calmed down a little bit more. I'm going to show you around the allotment and show you what has happened to some people's allotments, and also, you know, what you can do. I mean, you can't completely stop damage from happening, but there are some things that you could do to help yourself a little bit. So as we walk through, one of the main things is you'll see that people have lost bits of panelling and also their ground cover. Some of it's blown up, as you can see over there, and the roof of that shed has come off, which is a real shame because it's really lovely, but most of it is still there. You can see over there that construction has completely fallen to the ground, and this one is just in bits. Now that's one of the main reasons why I don't do really big constructions up in my allotment, because I know my allotment is really open and I've seen far too many fall to the ground. If you are going to put constructions up, the ones with like metal poles, and sink them really deeply in the ground, or if they are really strong wooden poles, again, really sink them down really deeply, and be prepared to have to fix them from time to time, because it's going to happen. Even the best constructions in the world you're going to lose. To be honest, this year isn't as bad as I'd seen. I've walked up the allotment some years and things have just been completely and utterly flattened. So as we walk through, we need to take a look at mine, don't we, and see what state that's in. It's had quite a lot of rain as well as we walk through. See, this one has fared really well, and I think the reason this has fared quite well is he puts other sheltering up as well around it, and it's all metal poles inside, and I'm guessing that he sinked them down a lot, so that's why it's still where it should be, which is fantastic. So he's going to be a very happy man with his. As we walk through, you can see obviously lots of people have lost bits off of, there's a greenhouse over there. We're not allowed glass up our allotment, so some people put their greenhouses up and they either use plastic or they use the scaffolding net to do a similar job basically. So as you can see, bits have been ripped off and fallen off there, but you know, getting them there, if they stay there, they'll be able to put that back together again. Mine doesn't look too bad actually. As I said, I don't have any big tall constructions because of that very reason. Up my bit. So this is my piece here, and yeah, not too bad at all really. As you can see, I have quite low structures and I hold things down with bricks, and I think that does help. And big long metal pole that I've got there as well, so because it's quite close to the ground it doesn't get so badly affected. And all my ground cover as well, it looks a little bit messy, but I always put lots of bricks on it, and it won't guarantee it's not going to take off, but it's less likely to. And I also pin it down as well. And this, I'm really shocked actually that's still here. I can't believe it actually. This is the thing I thought would have just ripped, if I'm honest. And although there's some little marks in it, my Savoy cabbages are still covered, so that's really good. So my recommendation, and it's what I do, is to keep stuff quite low, or if you are going to build bigger constructions, then to sink them well into the ground. So as you can see, this ground cover is still here, and this is all still in one piece as well. The covering that I've got on my can, again, you know, these are canes and they're sunk down really deep, and it's all held down with pins and with bricks, so it's all kept it where it should be. So the chap next to me, his is still in one piece, but 1 year he hadn't sunk it down deep enough, and that whole construction, or what was the old construction, lifted up and landed on my allotment, so that gave him a lot of work. But the new one obviously has stayed in place. Although he's lost a little bit of his plastic, he can easily replace that. So I think you just have to think that when you're doing stuff, you've got to be able to fix it should it come apart. And as you can see, he's double screwed everything and made it far more secure. Now, my fruit cage is another story. It's not too bad, but it has gone over. But again, what we'll do is we'll just pull this back up and tidy it up a little bit. It looks like it might need nailing a bit on the top and we'll either bash this. This is obviously snapped off. Now we've got two options. We can either replace this, or we might try, because the rest of it seems quite strong, we might try and bash that down further at some point. We're not going to do that today. Today I'm just coming up to assess the damage, but it's not too bad. My summer house is leaning a little bit, but I think it's always leant a bit. We're going to have to move this away from the tree in a minute. See, that could potentially damage my tree, so before I leave I'm going to do something with this, because I don't want it breaking my tree if it goes any further. So my summer house looks a bit of a mess, but I've had it a really long time. And a really funny story, quite some years ago, when we first put this up, we had a really bad storm, and it actually blew up into the tree, and it actually looked like something from the Wizard of Oz. And even though it was kind of like in bits and it was falling apart, we actually managed to put it back together again. But when we put it back together again, we held it down with iron posts, which means all it does is it slightly leans quite often in the wind. But when this storm has passed, we will probably re-straighten it up a little bit, and we will re-felt the roof. You know, I'd really love a really glamorous shed or summer house up the allotment, but the reality is it's really windy up here, and every year I see so many people's nice summer houses or sheds get destroyed. So what I do, I just keep patching it up, because it does what it needs it to do. As long as it's dry inside and the doors do up, and we just keep patching it up every single year. So I'd love to hear how you fared at your allotments, and whether you've lost anything, or whether you've got any top tips on how to look after everything. Yeah, always happy to answer any comments that you've got.